Shalom, family. Thank you so much for joining us for the weekly news update. And we do this every week on Yom Sheni on Monday nights. Always thankful when you join us. It's a pleasure and a privilege to go over these headlines together. And we've done this, like I said, for the last several years on Monday evenings. And we do this weekly because doing it every day was driving us a little bit cuckoo. That's pretty much the answer. Uh, if you were like me, you were a newsie. You got a lot of news all the time. Oh, thank you for joining us here. Let me put your comments on the screen, guys. And if you were like me, you were getting all kinds of things all the time, and that made it hard to focus. So then there were other people that were completely disconnected from the news, which I believe is to the other extreme and very problematic. I mean, it's hard for you to say you're a watchman if you're not watching, right? So one of the things that we're commanded to do is to watch and to pray, and certainly to have our eyes looking up because our redemption draws nigh, right? So we're always supposed to be paying attention, and we are to shine our light in a dark world. So we got to know where to shine it, and that means we have to know things that are going on. So for those of you that are joining us perhaps for the first time, we do have this great website called remnantwatch.com, where you can go and catch up on any of the stories that we're covering. We do have this handy banner at the top that always takes you to our latest broadcast, our latest shout out, if you will, our weekly news update. And we do have these great survival guides, which again, another week, another reason to share them. And of course, you can search for any past articles or information that we have covered in the past. And we've covered quite a bit, guys. When we go back, and I was going back through some of the archive, because can only keep so many in the storage, so I had to go through them. And as I'm going through them, I'm like, wow, we have covered a lot of different events and things that we've been paying attention to, that we watched occur, discerned through it, and kept level as we went, which is really an important part of why we do this, is so that you can be informed, as we like to say, without being overwhelmed. So on that note, let's get into the news. And on tonight's top story, we're watching, of course, a lot of different things going on throughout the world that are devastating and are starting to look like war is on the horizon on a larger scale, folks. But right now, we're taking a look at some events that are happening in Syria, and Trump launched massive airstrikes in Syria as vengeance, basically, for the killing of 3 Americans that just happened this last week, as you remember us reporting. And so this was retaliation. U.S. forces unleashed a wave of airstrikes against ISIS in Syria on Friday, the White House confirms. The move delivers on President Trump's promise to retaliate for the killing of 2 U.S. Army soldiers and an interpreter during a terrorist ambush in the country's central region last weekend. And American forces struck over 70 targets in the country linked to ISIS. 70 targets got obliterated over this thing because of ISIS's vicious killing of brave American patriots in Syria, whose beautiful souls I welcome home in American soil early this week in a very dignified ceremony. I'm hereby announcing that the United States is inflicting very serious retaliation, Trump said in a post on Truth Social on Friday evening. So never is war something to gloat about, the bombing of or blowing up of anything. And we continue to ask that question, don't we, guys? And I know many of you ask that question. Exactly what does war solve? We're still trying to figure out what a bomb solves. We haven't figured that one out yet, but we're working on it, right? Right, folks? And again, shalom to those that are joining us. We can't figure that out. Bombs, of course, are explosive devices that are meant to destroy. I wonder who made something that is meant to steal, kill, and destroy. Gee, I can't imagine. Can you guys imagine who might have done that? I don't know. Might be our enemy, right? Might be the devil. And so we're seeing a lot of things that are starting to happen in that part of the world. Of course, that they don't stop beating this drum that I've been listening to since 1998. I think I've been hearing this from this Iran is coming to get us, and unusual air activity detected over Iran as Israeli officials are warning now again that Tehran is preparing for a new war. And Western intel agencies say the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps conducting unusual activities involving drones and missiles and air defense units. Well, they've been attacked. I would imagine that any country would be working on defending themselves. Iran's paramilitary Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is conducting unusual activity, according to a report by Iran International. In a report published on Saturday, the anti-regime outlet cited multiple sources which said the Western intelligence agencies are monitoring unusual activity over Iran, including drone and missile activity, along with air defense unit operations on the ground. So whether or not Iran is a threat or not, the fact that it's in the news, guys, what have we learned? We've learned that it doesn't matter if it's true or not. What matters is it's in the news and it's in the narrative. And there's a reason why it's in the narrative. So I would say that this is a part of the world that's probably going to become very dangerous to be in. How many can feel that? How many are going to go, Iran? I don't have plans to go to Iran and don't want to book any right now, right? Because it's a good likelihood that they're letting us know, they're sort of telegraphing their punch here, right? That there's more to come in that theater of operations. So I would not be surprised to see further conflict erupt. What do you guys think about this? And we, of course, see in the scripture various events that, of course, have already occurred. However, what we also know is that these things repeat themselves. These things continue on cycles. So that's why I say, well, we can look at the scripture and we can look at the things that have already occurred. And we can then go, okay, what is likely to happen here? And we can follow a pattern. And that is what we're seeing today. I believe we're seeing the same patterns we've seen in the past. And that's what's fooling some folks a little bit. But at the same time, for those of you that have eyes to see and ears to hear, you're still going to start figuring out where the conflicts are going to erupt. And I do think the Middle East is looking like, again, the area that you're going to see massive conflicts to come. So we're not done at all. And then there's these things. Now, how many are seeing, you may think, why are you bringing this up here in this portion? Well, usually we talk international news in this portion of our discussion, but we're continuing to see more and more of this hitting the mainstream. And when I was warned about this, that I would see this, I didn't realize the level to which it would be coming out. And I thought I'd see one or two reports. I didn't know it was going to be almost all the time. And now you're seeing these kinds of reports. And guys, I got to tell you, I don't believe they are in control, meaning, the powers that be in the world are in control of these things. And so mystery as flock of UFOs. Look at this, seen hovering over power station for more than a year. This isn't for more than an hour, guys. A small town sheriff has admitted he is perplexed by a series of mysterious flying objects which have been bewildering locals in his Wyoming community for more than a year. So not once or twice. Unidentified flying objects have been regularly spotted for 13 months above the Jim Bridge power plant and Sweetwater County Red Desert. And the sheriff, of course, basically said it was drone-like objects, and as recently as December 13th, and he was basically saying they've worked with everything they can possibly think of to try to solve the mystery in the sky. So, they called the military right away. I mean, that was probably the first call they made. How long do you think they took before they called the military and said, is that you? Right? And apparently they were told no. So they continue to look for the answer to the mystery. And this is very interesting because I know a lot of people would automatically think, oh, it's our own stuff. Maybe. And maybe not. Maybe there are things on the earth we don't really know about yet, huh? Maybe there's going to be some more mysteries uncovered, unsealed, uncovered and unsealed. Stay tuned, right? Because there are things that we don't fully understand about Earth. And I do think that that's one of the things that we are going to learn more about. So what are those? I think stay tuned, folks, because I think we're going to get more and more information about unidentified things as they become identified. And I think as we move along in time, we're going to come back and go, aha, they weren't, it wasn't government stuff. who was that? So stay tuned, because I do think that's going to become very interesting in days to come, because you continue to see it all over the world. So it's not one place or another. It's not one country or another. We saw a report just a few weeks ago where Belgium, remember that? They were firing on them. Okay. So it's becoming a very interesting thing. Now, getting back to the Middle East. So now we're getting back into that part of the world. And Rubio, this is the Secretary of State, of course, is confident the countries will send troops to Gaza for a peace force. So now they're talking about an international force to take over Gaza. So their plan is unfolding. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Friday he is confident that countries will send troops to be part of the planned international stabilization force for war-racked Gaza. So, again, implementing a plan that they have already come to agreement on to bring in international forces and make that part of the world a different, change the whole entire thing. I feel very confident that we have a number of nation states acceptable to all sides in this who are willing to step forward and be a part of that stabilization force, Rubio told journalists in Washington. So I don't think that works without a serious Arab contingent, if not a full Arab contingent. So this becomes a interesting new development in the Middle East. And again, considering the position of the Israeli government and the openly declared position of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, it seems to me like we're setting ourselves up for yet another conflict here, because essentially what will happen with an international force will only embolden the two-state solution, which the Israeli government and Netanyahu have already made clear they are not interested in. So what is the likelihood that this international force gets in there, gets established in Gaza, right? Gets set up there and is not going to establish some form of autonomy? I can promise you that any international force that comes under the same kind of control or heavy-handedness that the Palestinians experience in Gaza, they would most certainly squeal. So I doubt very seriously that there's going to be a stable. This is not going to be stabilization. This is not going to be stable. This is poorly named. This is going to do anti-stabilization, and it's going to erupt. So I think Israel is about to erupt. I don't know that it can be stopped because you already have forces that are already in the streets, and there are already people that are protesting the government already. So they already have a lot of heavy pushback going on, like in the street pushback, right, guys? So when you have that, plus you have some of the things that they've already been through with the Gaza deal. Okay, they've got thousands of soldiers going through trauma treatment because of the Gaza ordeal. This is going to become a very dicey situation. And then if they go to war with Iran as well, so you're opening up a northern front. Again, this could get bad quick. So continue to pray for this region and for those in it. And we certainly pray for the Kodashim, the believers in Messiah that are throughout the region. But it does look like it's about to get dicey, guys. So we look like we're headed for conflict in the Middle East. It looks like it's going to be more of that. Speaking of conflict, Putin is most certainly feeling his oaths, as he's, of course, feeling his victory over Ukraine. And Putin is branding the NATO leader a little pig as he deploys missiles minutes from major capitals. So in a fiery address, Putin's words echoed across Europe, painting a vivid picture of tension and defiance. And his choice of words for a leader left many stunned as he called him a little pig. And that's what he called Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer. And of course, there of course very a lot of tension going on in Europe. Or during an annual meeting, the Russian Defense Ministry, Putin pointed fingers at former U.S. President Joe Biden for unintentionally instigating the conflict in Ukraine, and further stating that Europeans, little pigs, were quick to support the Americans. Everyone assumes that they would destroy Russia in a short period of time, that they would ruin it, Putin declared. And they did. They were very confident. You heard the pandering. You heard the rhetoric. You heard the braggadocious statements that they were going to basically take Russia out. And that didn't happen. And I think that all the world saw that, they don't have the power that they pretended to have. And now we're dealing with cleanup and a lot of dead bodies. Now, I mean, there are a lot of people that have perished as a result of this conflict that they sent young men to die in and that did not need to die. So that's the sad reality of war, the sad reality of this kind of war, anyway, that continues to be a challenge. Well, I was going to share this story about the U.S. taking a second tanker. Unfortunately, it is behind a paywall. So we'll go to the story of the third tanker because I can't show you the story of the second tanker. So the U.S. is snagging tankers. Yeah. So this is going on. So this is a thing. And the U.S. is still in pursuit of a third oil tanker in Venezuela blockade. So it is shutting down Venezuela's oil business and is pursuing a third oil tanker near Venezuela. According to U.S. officials, the President Donald Trump intensified the oil blockade on Nicolas Maduro's government. The tanker being pursued is flying under a false flag and under a judicial seizure order, and it's believed to be the Bella 1 tanker, a Panamanian flag vessel sanctioned by the U.S. The blockade appears to be putting pressure on Venezuela's oil storage, and so it is a move that I believe is meant to seriously pressure the Venezuelan people to accept what they believe, at least this side believes, is the lawfully elected government of Venezuela, which many of you may know are in absentia in Brussels, I believe, if I remember correctly, in Europe, but I think it's Brussels or The Hague. I'm not sure, but in any event, they are petitioning for redress on, of course, what they believe is a stolen election and so forth. So I believe this pressure on Venezuela is coupled with that effort as well. But I do also see obvious signs that this is about oil, folks. It's pretty obvious. And of course, Donald Trump is going to kind of play a little dumb. He's like, Venezuela denounces Trump's order for ship blockades as warmongering threats. And U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, a move denounced by Caracas as warmongering threats. And Trump wrote that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's government had been designated a foreign terrorist organization. Oh boy. Ouch. That's a bad thing, guys. So once they designated a foreign terrorist organization, that opens the doorway for military action without needing any further congressional approval. So his remarks come after the U.S. seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela last week, a significant action in light of the South American nation's reliance on oil. So again, this is a direct attack on the economy of Venezuela. And I do believe when they're talking about sanctioned, they're talking about Russian sanctions. So anything that is connected to Russia that is under a sanction, they're going to affect. So this is going to continue, guys. This is going to continue to be a heated, contested scenario that I believe is very, very dangerous for the United States. A very, very scary kind of moment, if you ask me, because of what China has already said about this. And China has made it clear about how they feel. These guys, I tell you, with their paywalls, man. Sorry, guys. This wasn't there before. It's there now. Okay, come on. Anyway, China is essentially objecting to the international, or to the grabbing of the ships and seizure of those ships as a serious violation of international law. I can't show you the story because all of a sudden, wasn't before, but now it's behind a paywall. It wasn't before, so I'm sorry about that. But they are complaining about that, right? So what do you suppose is going to happen as the United States aggressively pushes back on Venezuela? And China wants to push back on the U.S. while they have ships surrounding Taiwan. I wonder how this conversation goes. I pull mine, you pull yours. How many didn't see that one coming? He sent the largest armada ever assembled against a country and parked it off Venezuela's coast as a chess move against Russian oil. And if China objects, he gets to say to them, "Oh, you want to pull your stuff off Taiwan, and we'll pull our stuff off Venezuela." Oh, you don't want to do that? Yeah, I sat and thought about that today and went, "Oh man, you know how much of a chess player and strategist Mr. Trump is, right?" So I'm like, "Oh my goodness, is that can't be it? Is that it, guys? Is he using that to push back on Taiwan? Could be. You never know. But it is going to be interesting geopolitical stuff for a minute, right? And again, it's the little guys that pay. So it's the guy in Taiwan, it's the guy in China, it's the guy in Venezuela. It's the little guys that pay in these fights, right? So we are the ones that need to get out of the way of all these crazies that want to go to war with each other. Over what? And then they end up at a table anyway. So there's that, right? And of course, going on in the United States, we're having a massive, massive pushback. They're basically having all kinds of things going on. And so the FBI director, Kash Patel, says the Bureau is ramping up AI to counter domestic and global threats because it's getting that bad here in the United States. And so those of you that are watching from outside the U.S., please keep us in prayer. It's become a very dangerous place. FBI director says AI initiative will assist investigators and analysts working in national security space. And so Kash Patel on Saturday is basically telling us the agency is ramping up its use of artificial intelligence. I believe this is a dangerous precedent because of the hallucination effect. And in a post on X, Patel said the FBI has been advancing its technology, calling AI a key component of its strategy to respond to threats and stay ahead of the game. Again, this can cause more problems than it solves. I think about the movie Minority Report and Pre-Crime, and these things can be horrifically wrong. So this is a dangerous precedent, one that we're going to have to watch carefully. FBI have been working on key technology advances to keep us ahead of the game and respond to an always changing threat environment, both domestically and on the world stage. That I do agree with, and I do agree that they need to use the tools that they can to stay ahead of threats. There are so many threats in the United States today, so they do need to use what tools they can, guys. It is just too many people to manage and too many targets, too many soft targets, and so when you think of it that way, you realize, yeah, they don't really have a choice, do they? Not really. Not if they're going to offer any moniker of actual safety and actual form of protection. And that's basically all they can do now, because we all bought into a model of living a certain way. And that is in these hyper congested cities that offer us a serious security risk, no matter how you slice it. So again, this is part of the challenge that I think our society faces and our world faces, just purely on population alone in the dense places that it has congested. So again, I don't think there's a short answer for this. For those of you that are wise enough to get out of there, well, I congratulate you, because that's a big deal. How many know that the government is taking some hits right now because they supposedly, according to the law, there's a law that they passed and had to get it for the Jeffrey Epstein files, right? So the pressure's on to see how is our government actually run, who might be under, somebody else's thumb, what's really going on here, right? So there's a lot of people asking those questions. And do they have the right to the answers? I believe they do. I believe if there's people influencing or controlling those who are government officials, whether they be bureaucrats or elected officials, either way, I believe that is hyper problematic. And I believe that we have no choice as a country to make absolute certain that people are not under that type of, especially foreign control, but any kind of control external to their job. I mean, if somebody's paid to be a supervisor, they should be doing the supervisor job based on being a supervisor, not based on somebody having dirt on them, right? And then calling them and saying, I need you to do this and I need you to do that. We've all watched the movies. We all know how that works. We can all imagine, the deep throats and all that stuff. We don't care. All we know is there is a problem here. And so what was the point? A lot of people are wondering. Netizens are outraged as 90% of the released Epstein files are redacted. Did you guys hear about this? Yeah. The long-awaited disclosure of the Jeffrey Epstein files has arrived, but the resulting digital fallout suggests the public feels more deceived than informed. Instead, the transparency many had campaigned for, the release has sparked a firestorm of criticism over the heavy-handed use of the liberal black pen. And so some of the images that were coming out, sorry, there's none on this page, but there were images coming out of just literally pages that were just basically black lines. So they released a piece of paper with a bunch of black lines on it. How is that releasing information? So again, that's mocking the Freedom of Information Act. That's mocking our system of government. That's mocking public trials and public declarations. Those are things were part of publicly paid for investigations. I think the citizens have every right to feel. How do you guys feel about that? I think everybody has a right to say, we paid for that. Why don't we at least get to look at it? Don't we get to know who's responsible? And I think we all know. It's pretty obvious. I don't think this is like shocking news that they're protecting people. They're people that they don't want to get in trouble, and they cross their name out. I mean, that's basically what we're looking at here. Nobody's fooled by that. We're all looking at it. We're looking at naked, just going ahead and remove things you don't want us to know. So again, I think a lot of people are asking this question, what was the point? And I think that's a good question. So do I think there's more? What do you guys think? Do you think there's going to be more to the Jeffrey Epstein thing, or do you think they're just going to go, well, that's it, guys, and that's it? Just walk off on it. What do you guys think? I think there's more to the story, and I think that there's going to be more pressure applied. And I especially think that happens, that affects the next midterm elections. And so I definitely think that if it's not going to be affected now, in other words, if we're not going to have a major explosion of more information now, we're definitely looking at it a year from now, or thereabouts, because I think you're going to see some swing of authority based on the way polls look right now, what have you. So unless something spectacular happens in this next year, you guys are going to be seeing some really, really dirty things coming out. And again, it's actually a good thing, because we got to know, we have to know how it really works, right? Even if it's the ugly truth, like even if it turns out like, oh my goodness, our worst fears, man, like our worst fears are confirmed. Okay. Some bad guys go to prison, some innocent people get to tell their story finally and get out of there. And it's a reset. And that's a big deal. So is it worth it? Yeah. Is it going to stink? Yeah. Anybody that's ever cleaned up a mess after a flood or a backed up drain, it's no fun. So that we're dealing with some serious backed up drain here. But thankfully, I think that they knew that. The problem is that the guy who's saying he's draining the swamp is part of it. Photos of Donald Trump and more than a dozen other Epstein files mysteriously disappear as Dems say White House is absolutely committed to a cover-up. And so this is really getting some pushback. More than a dozen files, including a photo of President Donald Trump, have mysteriously vanished from the Justice Department's Epstein files. The disappearance happened less than a day after the files were posted, with no explanation from the government and no notice to the public. You see, these are the kinds of things that really, really cause pushback. And so we need to do better than this. The missing files, which were available Friday, contain a photo of Trump alongside with his wife, Melania Epstein, and the pedophile's longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. And other images, including paintings depicting nude women, and one showing a series of photographs along a credenza in a drawer. And the unexplained missing files fuel speculation about what was being taken down and why the public was not notified. So I think it's pretty safe to say that this isn't going to build confidence, because disclosure helps us understand, even though there may be things that we aren't allowed to know for whatever reasons. There may be some high security things in there. However, there's no way you're going to tell us that 90% of this stuff needed to be redacted. And so again, that's just beggars belief. It just does not pass the smell test. And I think most intelligent Americans are now asking, okay, what are we really watching here? So unfortunately, this does not bode well for Mr. Trump and for the Trump administration in terms of its attempt to convince the American people that it's a transparent and honest administration. This is starting to look like just another, another cover-up, if you will, another thing that is going on. Americans, by the way, do believe more and more in the alien thing, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, but so while they're having a hard time believing the scripture, they got no problem believing in aliens. Polls show that nearly half of Americans now believe aliens have visited the planet, and the number of them who aren't sure have dropped by 2/3. The reason why, experts say, are complicated. Well, maybe because there's things being disclosed that aren't fully explained, and we don't know what they are, right? Things flying around. A year in Wyoming, come on. Shooting at them in Belgium or wherever they were shooting at. Remember that? So I can imagine there's all kinds of questions that people are asking. And so we knew that we were walking into a lawless time, and a time when men's hearts would fail them for fear. And again, we're seeing exactly how that would come to pass. One of the things that we were warned about and that we all pay attention to is because this is something, again, the earth is responding, not man. And that's earthquakes. And of course, earthquakes were still a fear, and even in America's heartland, as now they're talking about the New Madrid fault, and earthquakes stir fear in America's heartland as deadly fault zone awakens. So a giant seismic zone near the heart of the U.S. has been seen dozens, actually, of tiny earthquakes break out in the last month, renewing fears of a catastrophic disaster that may erupt soon. So since mid-November, the U.S. Geological Survey has detected at least 38 low-level seismic events. Did you guys know that? I didn't know it was that many. I thought it was maybe 5 or 6. So I did not know that it was 38 different events that occurred in Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri, and Tennessee. So this is the area where we're talking about here, that part of the world. None of the few quakes registered greater than 2.6 in magnitude, meaning it's unlikely residents felt them, but the fact that they're happening says something's going on underground. Between 1811 and February 1812, a group of 3 powerful quakes over 7.0 in magnitude caused damage in cities such as Cincinnati and St. Louis, and was felt in states far away as Connecticut and Louisiana. So there are a lot of people that are very concerned about this particular fault line, while other faults are going a little crazy. They're also worrying about this one. So I think it's an interesting time period, and certainly one that we knew the earth would be shaken, but boy, oh boy, there's some things going on now, aren't there? And so we need to be aware of that. I do know that we'll be getting to a story on California, who also was experiencing some earthquakes. And there's more going on in the West Coast that we'll cover here in a moment. But I think that we can cover it now, actually. Let's get on over to that story, San Francisco area. They had power outages. Let's see. They had satellite disturbances and an earthquake storm. So let's take a quick look at California, which got pummeled here. There was an earthquake storm that strikes California for the 4th day. So something's really happening on the West Coast. Anybody that doesn't pay attention to that is not seeing it. There's also that atmospheric river. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. But the earthquake storm strikes California for the 4th day, as officials warn of 72% chance of the big one hitting. So now they're actually warning and predicting a big one's coming. California has been rattled by multiple earthquake storms over that past 4 days, with the latest hitting on Tuesday. And the USGS is reporting a magnitude quake at 5:53 p.m. near San Ramon, in the epicenter of the recent seismic activity. So again, it's not huge quakes, but whenever there's a lot of them, it can indicate that there's going to be something going on. The uptick in seismic activity has raised concerns. See, there it is among some residents with fears that the clusters of quakes, and that's the concern, is there's a cluster. Kind of means like something maybe cracking underground. I don't know. What do you guys think? Could be warning such a much larger warnings, a sign of a much larger earthquake. And however, experts are saying the small terrors do not indicate there's a major threat that's imminent. It's not necessarily an indicator, but it's certainly something of concern as it compiles with other things, right? So other things are happening at the same time. And that's where we get a little bit concerned. I know that, again, getting back to the San Francisco story, I don't know if you guys heard about this. This was really, really an eye-opener. So San Francisco, their power outage, if you heard about this was wild. Left 130,000 in the dark. And it also affected self-driving cars that stalled in the middle of the street. That one was one of the things that kind of blew my mind a little bit. And so, when you see the city, go black like that, right? And, oh boy, you don't think that cars are going to get stuck. But that's what ended up happening in this scenario. They ended up having problems with the electric cars. Most likely, I would guess, with the GPS systems that were operating their navigational programs remotely. And so San Francisco plunged into darkness when nearly 30% of the city was struck by a power outage, which brought vital transportation, such as self-driving cars, to a grinding halt on Saturday night. And over 130,000 houses and businesses were left in the dark, largely in the northwest part of San Francisco. And what made that story notable was the fact that cars were shutting down. And I thought that was something that, how many people thought about that? How many people thought that a power outage, okay, I did not connect those. Did you guys ever connect those things? That a power outage could kill your vehicle. Well, that's a horse of a different color. We didn't see that one coming, right? So now we've got to kind of factor that in as we go. And it's getting interesting. Now, getting back to AI. Excuse me. There are a lot of voices that think AI is basically the future of everything. I don't. We've got several patents, 12 of them actually in this field, and I can tell you that it's much more limited than people want to believe. I think they like creating, sort of the Superman, the super thing, the super, and it's just a lot of hype. But there are some positive things that can come from it. Unfortunately, here's one of the things that we keep seeing. So we're going to keep seeing headlines like six-figure earner Elon Musk warns the money will disappear in the future as AI makes work and salaries irrelevant. That's a very extreme position. And I doubt very seriously that's actually going to come to pass. Since you've worked your way up the ladder to be comfortable, six-figure salary, or perhaps you squared away hundreds of thousands of cash in the bank, and none of it's going to matter very long because the world's richest person believes money itself is borrowed time. Well, there's always going to be some type of medium exchange, but he may be right. The concept of money, the way we've understood it, is wearing thin on people in general throughout the world. This whole game of a few are rich and most are poor has gotten old. And I tell you one thing, we certainly are combating in the Ruach. We're fighting in the spirit against the spirit of poverty. Okay, so I'm with that, and I believe that's what Yahuwah is speaking in the earth right now. So again, not everybody's getting that, but I do believe it's a problem, and that is a shift, and it's a major shift. And I told you guys this. I said this is a massive change of the way the workforce works, and a lot of folks who are stuck in the old paradigm are having a difficult time making the transition. So many are unemployed. Many unemployed Americans are applying for hundreds of jobs. Okay, hundreds of jobs with no success. That is really scary that they're applying for 100 jobs. Can you imagine that? I don't know that anybody out there is experiencing that. And if you are, my goodness, we need to pray for you because that is really, really hard to get through. That many applications, that many doors you knocked on with no success. The unemployment rate is surging to a 4-year high. So frustrated job seekers all over America just got more bad news, and the unemployment rate is hitting the highest level that we've seen in 4 years. And I believe a lot of that is coming from the uncertainty concerning AI. How much can businesses get away with not having? How many employees can they reduce down to? So A lot of them are concerned about their competitive stance. Will their competitors figure out that new technology faster than them? All of this is interrupting the normal status quo. Now, we can complain about it. We can get mad about it. We can get upset. We can shake our fists at the man, or we can get wise and intelligent. And my encouragement to all of you is to get ahead of it and start to realize that some of these things you're not going to stop. They're part of the way in which this society has been going for some time. And this is just basically the next evolution of it. And there's really not a lot we're going to be able to do about that, because it's just a train that's left the station. So what you can do is mitigate it and work around it and learn how to be found faithful, like wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Amen. And in the meantime, this AI thing is really a challenge. It's starting to become more and more intertwined with people. And again, remember, guys, they're being sued by 7 different families for their lack of ability to intervene. They do not have the appropriate technology for this, so they're doing something that's incredibly dangerous. A quarter of teenagers turn to AI chatbots for mental health support. This is horrifically dangerous. And again, the reasons why we had some of the technology we did. Experts warn of the dangers, as England and Wales studies show. 13 to 17-year-olds are consulting AI amid long waiting lists for services. And guys, this is not just teenagers. This is all consulting. This is marriage consulting. This is all kinds of help. Give me help. And when people cannot respond fast enough, well, people turn to what's available to them. And it was after one friend was shot and another stabbed, both fatally, that Sean asked ChatGPT for help. And next thing you know, they're in an emotional state with an AI that has amnesia, has hallucination, has no persistency, no volition memory, no fixed points, nothing. And we'll be washing away this session here shortly. The horrible gaslighting effect that has on the human psyche will be a thing that we will look back on with great regret in generations to come, that we let and unleashed this narcissistic psychopath known as AI out on our children. We will rue the day that happened. I can promise you that. So thankfully, there are intelligent and wise servants out there countering these things, and I think we need to work very quickly. How many agree? How many believe that we should just let them just do whatever they want to do? How many just want to let them? Just don't do nothing. Just let them. Okay? Yeah, this isn't the channel for you. I can tell you right now. This isn't the place, because we're not going to let them. We're not going to just sit still. We're going to do stuff about that. And there are those that are involved in the AI community as it stands right now. And again, there are new texts that are coming out. But there's a scientist who helped create AI, says it's only a matter of time before every single job is wiped out, even safer jobs like plumbing. And they're not wrong. There's ways to take the technology that they've created and utilize it for even mechanical tasks. And it very much can replace a number of different tasks. And so is that, and I'm not going to read this article. You're welcome to look at it on remnantwatch.com. But here's the question, guys. Do you think that this results in what they're saying? In other words, is it just take all the jobs? If so, you should rejoice. And you say, wait a minute, what are you doing, Peter? What are you talking about? Well, first of all, it's going to take all the jobs. Who owns it? Well, if you own one, then that means it's working for you, and it works for you, produces for you, earns for you, solves problems for you. So good. You go make money while I enjoy my children. See how that works? Good. You go take care of this while I enjoy my life. I'm going to go fishing. You go solve this. That may not necessarily be the worst thing. So again, it depends on how it's structured and who's controlling it. If it's being controlled centrally, that is a problem. But if it is decentralized technology, where you are in control, where you're giving back your dominion, where you're giving back your power, where you're giving back the authority over the technology, where you're given the tools to govern that technology so that it's no longer governed by a third party with ulterior motives, well, now that's a different thing. Because now they're putting that same weaponry in your hands, and you are who it's serving. And see, the problem we have is if it's serving a third party, okay, with ulterior motives. But if it's serving you, my brother and sister, well, then now we can go out and mow the lawn. Okay, let's get that backyard mowed. Make sure those lines are straight. Use your AI line straightener to make that mowing straight. Okay. Okay. And plumbing. Yeah, let's get the plumbing too. Come here. I got plumbing jobs for you. Of course, it's not going to replace everything. Not everybody's going to want a robot. And then that way, craftsmen and people that are actually good at what they do will always have a place. I think it's nonsense to think that AI is going to take everybody's jobs, but I do think it is going to be a significant change in the way that we function. I'll tell you another thing that may change. This is what I was warning about before, getting back to the West Coast. Sorry for being a little all over the place. My stories were a little out of order, but the West Coast is being absolutely pummeled by trillions of gallons of rain. So this is adding to an already difficult situation on the West Coast. Wind speeds up to 144 miles an hour and flooding that will cause roads for months. So this has been really bad, a slow motion disaster that's been going on the West Coast as this atmospheric river, they're calling it, has been essentially dropping trillions of gallons of water all up and down the West Coast. And so according to the Weather Channel, the parade of storms that we've been witnessing will continue to roll into next week. So there's no end in sight. Now, who warned about the Northwest? We did. Who told you guys that this might become a really dangerous part of the world to be in? We did. We kept warning about it because I kept feeling this, and I don't think it's done yet. I think it's a dangerous part of the world to be in. I do. Okay. I think there's a lot of signs and indicators to let us know that too, like you'd have to be kind of not paying attention a little bit to not get the message, right? So there's that. Did you guys hear about Pete Hegseth revamping the chaplain corps? I thought this was kind of interesting because, again, it indicates a shift going on in Washington towards Christianity. And this is a big shift because it's becoming almost like public policy, guys. So this is huge in many ways, considering especially coming out of the Obama years and even the George Bush years, which seemed to be almost agnostic. And so kind of interesting. Hegseth is overhauling the chaplain corps, targeting the New Age concepts and getting rid of those guys. So Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Tuesday, he's actually Secretary of War, guys, so you got to get that right. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said Tuesday he's overhauling the military's chaplain corps, which provides religious and spiritual support to members of the armed forces and their families, saying he intended to target New Age concepts. So in an atmosphere of political correctness and secular humanism, chaplains have been minimized, viewed as many as therapists instead of ministers. And I do think that's a very interesting development going on in the military. Because I thought they were long gone. I really did. So that's interesting to watch some kind of pushback going on there. I thought for sure they were given over to that whole New Age thing. I thought the chaplain corps and all that was just gone. So any of you veterans out there, did you find that interesting? I did. I personally, as a veteran, I found that interesting. So for my veteran friends out there you go. It's a story that I don't know. I thought it was I actually think it's a good story. I think it's good to hear that, we're asking different questions and pushing back on this New Age nonsense, right? So again, keeping an eye on those changes as they're happening in our world. Well, I got a duplicate story here about the earthquake, so we'll move on from that. Hey, did you guys hear about this? Wow. This is wild. So there's this woman in Canada who they couldn't treat. I'm not kidding. This is a real story. That woman, they couldn't treat a sick woman, so they offered her assisted suicide. The case of Jolene Van Alstyne exposed just how compassionate, quote unquote, the Canadian health system actually is. And again, it's behind a paywall. But yeah, they actually basically said to her, "We can't cure you, so here we can help you die quicker. You can take an exit. Not go to another country, not, look for alternative. No, you can just die." So our world is losing compassion. The love of many is waxing cold because iniquity is abounding again. So this has happened before, and now it's happening again. And here we are in another cycle of iniquity abounding and many because of which their love waxes cold, and they don't have hearts. They have broken hearts. Remember that Luke chapter 4:18 tells us that he binds up and heals the brokenhearted. That's not Romeo and Juliet brokenhearted. That means your heart doesn't work. Your heart's broken. You cross the road instead of helping a Samaritan. That's what it means. It means your heart doesn't work right. Amen. And so that's what we're realizing in this moment, is that we're walking around with a lot of heartbroken people whose broken hearts don't work. They're so caught up in their own disappointment and feeling their own victimhood. Come on, somebody. That they cannot feel their brother, even on a bus. Look at this. Now we've got to worry about razor blades being found shoved in loaves of bread at Walmart. Tell me again that this isn't serious psychopathy, serious degradation of mental being. In Biloxi, Mississippi, razor blades were found shoved in loaves of bread at a Walmart in Mississippi, according to authorities. Biloxi police were called out to the Walmart superstore after razor blades were found shoved into loaves of bread. Now imagine the sickness of someone's brain to do something like that. To think, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll shove some razor blades in a loaf of bread so somebody will bite into it and they'll bite and they'll have a razor blade in their mouth. What a great thought. What kind of demonic evil would think of such a thing? And that's what's loose in our world. And we're seeing it in various ways. And that's why we warn about protecting your children. And we have been very vocal and very direct about your children being in public institutions and institutions where they are supervised by those who don't love them and who have no connection to you in a familial or other way. It's extremely dangerous, and especially now in this world. And we continue to see evidence to this effect, not because we're looking for it, not because we're chasing it, but because it's just every week in the news. It seems like we can't get away from stories like this. We've got a long time children's pastor, Joe Campbell is his name. And excuse me for a moment here. A former Assembly of God minister was indicted in Oklahoma after an NBC News investigation revealed decades of miswarnings. Decades. Pentecostal preacher for half a century ministered to thousands of children across 4 states have been arrested on child sex abuse charges. And so Campbell was charged with 1 count of first-degree rape, oh boy, and 1 count of lewd or indecent acts to a child under 16. So again, there's the line, folks. And I know that some people think that it doesn't matter, but it does. And so U.S. Marshals arrested him Wednesday morning at Camp Bell, his children's camp in Eckland, Missouri, and took him into Greene County Jail in Springfield. Again, these are the kinds of things that unfortunately happen because our world is filled with compromise. And these demonic spirits knew that. They took advantage and set us up. So we're sitting here trying to figure out how we got here. Well, that's how we got here, folks. And that's exactly what happened. There are some other additional things that are happening. One quick one that I'm going to make quick mention of. There's dangerous insects that are now coming into the country for the first time in 50 years. Okay. So this is a dangerous insect. The officials are sounding alarm after a dangerous insect spotted in the country. First time in 50 years, it's retreated and is now returning. So this is a dangerous critter. The Oriental hornet has spotted near Cascal Quarry, and it said the insects were at peak activity and the stings could be likely. So again, we all have our areas where we have to, keep an eye. I'm not sure where exactly that was, but there's all kinds of things coming into our world. I don't have time to chase that one down. Sorry. Let's see what else we have. Oh, public events. Here's something I wanted to make mention of real quick because people are going to be making plans. There's a lot of public safety concerns about public events coming up for New Year's. Now, we don't celebrate this. New Year's is in the spring. However, I know a lot of people do. Don't want to put any shade on you, but just be aware their public safety concerns are leading to cancellation of major New Year's events for a reason. So there's a good reason for that. I think there's a lot of heightened concern right now about attacks and things, especially in this atmosphere. So again, just something to be aware of. Don't want to make a big deal out of it. And again, you can look at that story on remnantwatch.com. And so I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of it, because I know a lot of times people, even if you're not making plans to go anywhere or party or hang out, we get oblivious to those days. We get oblivious because we don't celebrate them. And next thing you know, we're like, oh my gosh, it's this day or it's whatever. And you're out tooling around, right? So just be aware that there is some serious concern about gatherings on these upcoming holidays, if you will. And I think rightfully so. Based on the mass shootings that we've seen recently, the demons definitely seem to be bloodthirsty. How many are seeing that? How many are seeing the continuous sort of river of one event after another where people are being harmed or some type of horrific event is occurring? I had to take a break from those because that just gets to be too much. But we still see it. So it's impossible to completely get away, isn't it? And so that's something that I encourage all of you to stay together with your brethren, unite and be in one accord. This is why community is so important. Unity is so important. And of course, walking together in Messiah. Amen. Well, that's tonight's broadcast. I pray it's been a barakah to you. I hope we've been an encouragement to those of you that come along. And thank you for being such wonderful guests on the broadcast. You're always such a delight, and we're thankful for you. Thank you for sharing the link with our brethren. For those that do enjoy these weekly gatherings, we are thankful that you come by, like, and subscribe. Well, that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Shalom.